Jagadamba Steels, Nepal's #1 steel company. सर्वाधिक विश्वासिलो जगदम्बा सिमेन्टो नेपालीहरूको real with rich power.
दर्शकवृन्द नमस्ते। सन् 2000 मा नेपाल पनि विश्वका अन्य मुलुकहरूसँगै सहस्राब्दी विकास लक्ष्यको अभियानप्रति पूर्णतया समर्पित मुलुकहरूको सूचीमा सामेल भयो। सन् 2015 सम्ममा शिक्षा, स्वास्थ्य र विकासका न्यूनतम आधारभूत आवश्यकता र अझ सहज रूपमा बुझ्ने हो भने प्रति व्यक्ति आय दैनिक $1.25 अर्थात आजका मितिमा दैनिक करिब 100 नेपाली रुपैयाँ पुर्याउने हो। यसैलाई विश्वव्यापी रूपमा मिलेनियम डेभलपमेन्ट गोल्स वा MDG भनेर सम्बोधन गर्ने गरिएको छ। यो विश्वव्यापी प्रतिबद्धताका साक्षीका रूपमा उभिएको छ संयुक्त राष्ट्र संघ। आगामी साता नेपाल लगायत विश्वका अन्य मुलुकहरूमा सम्बन्धित सरकारहरूलाई सन् 2015 सम्म पूरा गरिनुपर्ने यो बृहत लक्ष्यसम्म पुग्न घचघच्याउने अभियान स्ट्यान्ड अप 2015 अभियानका रूपमा मनाइँदैछ। आज यही विहंगम लक्ष्य नेपालले हासिल गरेका उपलब्धि र हासिल गर्न नसकेका चुनौतीहरूका बारेमा चर्चा गर्न निम्त्याएका छौं हेड अफ UN सिस्टम इन नेपाल रोबर्ट पाइपरलाई। Robert, welcome to Fireside.
Thank you, Rusha.
It must be a very busy week ahead.
Very exciting week, yeah. Friday, which is the International Day for the Eradication of Poverty, a big focus on the Millennium Development Goals in Nepal and throughout the world.
Well, we see quite a bit of the MDG hue and cry in the papers, out in the streets, and whenever we go to development lectures, a lot of people talk about the MDGs. For a common man, what is an MDG? Tell me.
An MDG is a historic decision made by 189 world leaders that gathered in the year 2000, so the Millennium Summit, the biggest gathering of world leaders in history actually, came together and agreed that moving into the next millennium we have to deal with some fundamental issues of poverty and justice. And they set themselves 8 goals to be achieved by 2015. 7 of them are really targeted towards developing countries and dealing with poverty, dealing with hunger, dealing with child mortality. And the 8th goal was really targeted more at those developed countries, making sure that they play their part of the bargain, that they put resources on the table, that they make their markets more accessible for developing country products and so forth. So 8 very ambitious goals accompanied by 21 targets, very clear, very measurable. 1990 to 2015, this is what we're going to achieve, and absolutely impossible to hide from. And so we're 6 years out today in 2009. We're 6 years out from 2015, and there's, of course, a big push to make sure we hit those targets in every country of the world.
Let's have a comparative comparison in between the achievements made globally for 2015 and the MDGs, regionally in Asia and locally in Nepal. Where are we?
Well, if we, let's say, take income poverty and the target of halving those living under $1.25 a day between 1990 and 20, so by 2015 to halve that number. Before the financial crisis, we'd seen about 400 million people around the world being lifted out of poverty. But we had, I think my guess is 300 million of those probably in China, in East Asia. Huge number of people that have been lifted over the poverty line. So a global number, about 400 million people that have been lifted up out of the 1.8 billion living under $1.25 a day. 400 million lifted up, maybe 3/4 of them coming from Asia, so a big number for Asia in terms of results. but mainly from, I mean, the biggest numbers from China, of course, big numbers from India and elsewhere, Thailand as well, but the stunning numbers, of course, the scale is coming from China's success over the last 15 years. When it translates to Nepal, we've also seen really impressive progress. Nepal is on track to achieve that goal by 2015. We've seen poverty come down from about, at a national level, 42% to 31%. So we've got to get to 21% by 2015 for Nepal to make its target.
And in other sectors where we are making a considerable achievement, do you think we would surpass the minimum threshold by 2015?
Well, some of the big successes around the globe are certainly on, for example, school enrollment, which is another one of the key goals, and Nepal's got very good results. In South Asia, very impressive achievements. So Nepal's gone from, I think, 68% to over 90% in terms of primary enrollment. However, when we look at something like hunger, which is the goal where Nepal is really tremendously far behind, it is the one goal of, where Nepal is behind, the rest of the world is also very behind, but it's a really unrecognized issue in Nepal, at least not as well recognized as it should be, that Nepal's malnutrition rates are very high. Its stunting rates for children are worse only in 4 other countries on the planet. So 1 in 2 children in Nepal are stunted. So malnourishment issues here and hunger issues are really perhaps the goal where we are furthest from attainment for Nepal.
Well, the general observation that's reads in Nepal is, yes, the enrollment of primary schools or primary school going children has increased tremendously, but the quality of primary education and the quality of schools and teachers is not as adequate as the numbers that are enrolled. So what are agencies like the UN that you represent in Nepal doing to improve the infrastructure that is required for such a huge influx into enrollment, in terms of enrollment into schools?
Well, it's absolutely right. I mean, the numbers are just numbers. If the quality is not there, it's a sort of empty victory. And we are concerned about, we're concerned about school dropout rates. I think many donors are investing heavily in the education sector to help Nepal along this path. There is a large education ministry-led sector-wide approach. Different parts of the UN system are also participating. So you have UNICEF working on sanitation systems in schools, on curriculum development with UNESCO, the education, science and cultural arm of the UN system. You have the World Food Programme doing school feeding programs to try and improve nutrition rates of children in the schools themselves. There's certainly training of teachers going on. You have the UN Development Programme that is supporting with others these local VDC block grants, a lot of which, a big proportion of that money is going to recruitment of teachers actually, decided by communities themselves. So there's a lot of different actors. Certainly the UN's only one of multiple actors supporting Nepal and trying to get not only these enrollment rates up, but also, number 2, trying to retain kids to stay in school longer than, say, 5 years, and number 3, to improve the quality of the education that they get while they're there. And it's still a long way to go before we can start taking an enormous amount of satisfaction out of these numbers. I think that's perfectly correct.
Well, in your 18 months of stay in Nepal so far, of which you might have spent enough time with the Nepalese policymakers and people in government, how do they understand the reality that you're talking to me now about Nepal? Let's leave diplomacy aside and just give a human impression of the susceptibility of the Nepalese stakeholders to understand and implement the urgency to achieve what we are supposed to achieve by 2015.
I think there's plenty of expertise in Nepal. I've worked in many different countries around the globe, and for a so-called post-conflict environment, the quality of people you have in the civil service are astonishingly good. I mean, I was struck by that